Inside the panel, how the View's lineup has leaned left for nearly 3 decades. Few daytime programs have shaped American political conversation the way The View has since its 1997 debut, and few have drawn as much sustained attention to the politics of the women sitting at its table. The show was built on a simple premise: gather a handful of women of different ages, backgrounds, and outlooks and let them argue through the news of the day. Almost 30 years later, that premise has produced one of the most closely watched panels in television, and one whose ideological makeup has become a story in its own right. The structure has been remarkably consistent. Across nearly 3 decades and dozens of cast changes, The View has typically run with somewhere between 4 and 8 co-hosts in a given season, with 5 being the standard number on a working day. Within that rotating roster, a clear pattern has held. Most seats are filled by women who identify with or consistently align themselves with the Democratic Party, while a single seat is reserved for a co-host who identifies as Republican or conservative. That arrangement is not an accident of casting. It reflects a format the show's creators set up deliberately and that producers have maintained through multiple iterations of the cast. The current panel illustrates the pattern clearly. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes, and Ana Navarro make up the bulk of the rotating table, alongside Alyssa Farah Griffin, who holds the show's designated conservative seat. Goldberg and Behar have anchored the program for years and are its most recognizable faces, both of them comedians and entertainers who have never been shy about their political sympathies on air. Hostin, a lawyer and former federal prosecutor, frequently leads the legal and political analysis on the show's Hot Topics segment. Navarro, a longtime Republican strategist who broke publicly with her party over Donald Trump, now sits comfortably among the show's left-leaning majority despite her professional background. Federal campaign finance records and public statements going back years document a consistent pattern among the show's left-leaning hosts. Behar's donation history includes gifts to Democratic candidates in competitive races, including support for a New York congressional candidate running against Republican George Santos and a contribution to Beto O'Rourke's Senate campaign in Texas. Hostin, who has donated under her legal name, has given money to Democratic state legislative candidates in Florida and to the 2020 Senate campaigns of Georgia Democrats Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, along with Stacey Abrams' voting rights organization. Goldberg, while not a frequent campaign donor herself, has appeared at high-profile Democratic campaign events, including a rally for Kamala Harris during the 2024 presidential race, where she spoke from the stage about what she described as the stakes of the election. On air, the tilt is even easier to observe than in donation records. The show's daily Hot Topics segment regularly turns to commentary that is critical of Republican officials and supportive of Democratic policy positions, often with multiple hosts agreeing in quick succession before any dissenting view is raised. Recent broadcasts have featured the panel expressing skepticism about Republican explanations on issues ranging from investigations into the Trump administration to congressional votes on releasing federal documents, with hosts like Hostin openly questioning the motives behind GOP messaging. That dynamic has been a defining feature of the show for years, not a recent development, and it long predates any single news cycle or election. The conservative seat, by contrast, has functioned as something closer to a counterweight than an equal voice, at least by the numbers. Alyssa Farah Griffin, a former Trump administration communications official who left the party's MAGA wing, currently holds that position. Before her, Meghan McCain occupied the seat from 2017 to 2021, frequently sparring with her further left colleagues in moments that became some of the show's most widely clipped and discussed segments. Earlier still, Abby Huntsman and Elizabeth Hasselbeck filled the same role, each serving as the lone Republican-identified voice at a table otherwise dominated by Democratic-aligned co-hosts. That one-against-many structure has produced a recognizable rhythm to the show's debates. A conservative co-host raises a point, several Democratic-leaning co-hosts respond, and the conversation often resolves in the direction the majority was already leaning. Critics of the format have long argued that this is by design rather than coincidence, intended to generate friction and television moments rather than a genuinely balanced exchange of views. Supporters of the show counter that The View has never claimed to be a neutral news program and that its entire format, going back to Barbara Walters' original pitch, was built around opinionated women debating from their own honestly held points of view. The ratio itself has become something of a running storyline among television critics and media researchers who track the show's composition season by season. With 5 regular seats filled in a typical lineup, the common arrangement places 4 hosts who are Democratic-leaning or who consistently vote and speak in line with Democratic positions against one Republican-identified host. That 4-to-1 split has held, with only minor variation, through multiple complete overhauls of the cast, suggesting it reflects an institutional choice by producers rather than a temporary accident of who happened to be available for hire in any given year. Whoopi Goldberg has functioned as the show's moderator for most of the past decade and a half, giving her outsized influence over which topics get airtime and how long each host speaks on a given issue. Her own political commentary, delivered in the same plain-spoken style she is known for as a performer, has at times drawn formal corrections or apologies from the network, including past controversies over remarks she made about historical atrocities that required her to walk back her comments on air. Those moments have only heightened scrutiny of how much editorial latitude the show's most prominent host commands relative to her colleagues. The show's audience numbers complicate any simple story about whether its political tilt has hurt or helped it commercially. The View has remained the highest-rated daytime talk program in the country for years running, regularly drawing more than 2 million viewers a day and posting some of its best individual weeks around major political events, including the weeks surrounding the 2024 presidential election. Whatever viewers think about the balance of opinion at the table, they have kept watching in numbers few other daytime programs can match, a fact that producers have pointed to whenever questions arise about whether the format needs rebalancing. Taken together, the documented voting and donation records, the on-air commentary patterns, and the show's own long-standing seat structure paint a consistent picture of a program whose dominant editorial voice has, for most of its history, aligned with the Democratic Party while reserving a single seat for dissent from the right. That is not a hidden or contested fact so much as a structural feature of the show that has simply become more visible as American politics has grown more polarized and as viewers have grown more attuned to the politics of the people delivering their news and commentary.